Namo Namaha. Suswagatam Shishyas. Let's maximize our time by practicing what we have done. Let's revise what we have done. And let's move on to some new material from chapter 3. Because revision of the basics is what's going to make a pleasant career in your Sanskrit or the unpleasant career. So my vision is that all of us have a pleasant career. And the way this will happen is through having a very strong foundation of the basics. What do I mean by this? Together. Abhyaso nahi tyaktavyo. Do you remember? Abhyaso nahi tyaktavyo. Abhyaso hi param balam. Anabhyase visham vidya. Ajirne bhojanam visham. Okay? Did you remember that? Had some trouble recalling or recalled everything? I don't know. However, the point is, memory is lost very quickly. And the only way it can be sustained at the beginning stages is by constant repetition of what we have done. Let's also now do hastasya on ornaments. Ready? Get your papers out. Hastasya bhushanam danam satyam kanthasya bhushanam shrotrasya bhushanam shastram bhushanaih kim prayojanam. Okay? So make sure abhyaso and on ornaments, hastasya, is 100% recall. There's no excuse. We've had a lot of time so far to remember. Therefore, I expect full recall on both of these verses by now. Because we will now move on to our next verse for week 3. We won't get into week 3 fully. We will only do the basics of week 3. This means that when we do meet up, we will have as I said, a comfortable time, because at least that way you will say, oh, I've gone through this. So this means when we do meet up physically, we will go through the details. However, now we're going to go through the absolute fundamentals. And one of those fundamentals is listen on the board. Atra tatra cha sarvatra. Okay, a lot of tongue consciousness here because there's a dental T. Ta. Atra tatra cha sarvatra. Atra tatra cha sarvatra. Vartate parameshwaraha. Vartate parameshwaraha. Anyatra chapi tatsthanam. Anyatra chapi tatsthanam. Kutrasyad nasti saha. Kutrasyad nasti saha. Okay, I'll do the whole verse and then we will do it together. Atra tatra cha sarvatra. Vartate parameshwaraha. Anyatra chapi tatsthanam. Kutrasyad nasti saha. Okay, now do it together with me. Atra tatra cha sarvatra. Vartate parameshwaraha. Anyatra yatra chapi tat sthanam kutra syad yatra nasti saha. If your mouth gets dry, some of the letters won't be pronounced very well. For example, the tat sthanam. Now hear me out. This time. Tat sthanam. It's a little bit sharper. So this means you need to lubricate your mouth. Okay, now that we have chanted this verse, let's quickly translate it and look at the thought process, how to go from Sanskrit to English. So atra, directly, that is here, tatra, there, cha, and sarvatra, everywhere. So here, there, and everywhere. Together, whenever I say the word, repeat after me. Atra, here. Tatra, there. Cha, and. Sarvatra, everywhere. Here, there, and everywhere. Vartate. Vartate means exists or is present. What is present? Parama. Parama, which is the supreme. Parama is a separate word. It's an adjective. The most exalted, the highest. So Parama plus another word called Ishwara. In other words, you have Parama, A plus E, you combine it. This is called Sandhi. So A, because Parama ends with an A, Ishwara starts with a long I. So short A plus long I equals A. Therefore you have A. So if you were to break this down, you have Parama Ishwaraha. But now you put it together, you have Parameshwara. So in other words, the highest Lord. So here, there, and everywhere exists the highest Lord. And also, his abode is anyatra, elsewhere. So tat sthanam, sthanam is abode. And tat is his. So tat sthanam is his abode. Chapi, that's cha api. Cha api. Okay, so and api also. If you put them together again, sandhi is at play. CA, that means the first word one ends with an A, word two starts with an A plus A equals long A. Therefore, long A. So you say chapi. If you break it down, you have cha-api. Okay. And then, so his tat sthanam, his abode, cha-api is api, also anyatra, elsewhere. Okay. And then kutra syad, kutra, where syad, this is actually a T there. However, if you join a T with a Y, you have a D. Please don't feel intimidated by the sandhi because it's just a matter of repetition and familiarity. And all that we're doing in sandhi is recognizing when the end of letter 1 joins the beginning of letter 2, what is the result? For example, A plus I equals E. So this means if I read, if I go Parameshwara, okay, so originally it has to be Parama Ishwara because A plus I equals A. Okay, and then that's how you break down the word. So kutra, where perhaps, yatra, again another word for where. So where perhaps where, na asti is not he. Directly, again, where perhaps where is not he. So let's do that a little bit more refined. Where perhaps where he is not. Okay, a little bit better now. Where perhaps where else? Where well, where else? That's the closest I can come up with. So where else where he is not? In other words, he is everywhere. Where else would there be, or where else is there where he is not? Okay, now let's see what it says. Here, there, and everywhere exists the Supreme Lord. His place is also elsewhere. Tat stanam, his place, cha api, is also anyatra, elsewhere. Where would there be somewhere? Kutra, where, perhaps, that means where would there, syat, where would there be, where he is not. Yatra nasti saha, where he is not. Okay? The reason I'm going with this translation is to get you into a familiar mode of how to go from one to the other, because this is the crucial part in our work. Okay, now let's move on, and we will pronounce all the letters. Please do it with me. A, I, I, U, L, top of the mouth, the tongue is. When you say L, and E, I, O, ow. All right, now let's go through these exercises for revision. Okay, okay, si, which one? Si, you. Prcha, ask. So you ask, and gacha, who goes? Ti, and he goes. So prchasi, gachati cha. Prchasi, you ask, gachati cha, and he goes. Gachami, what's ami? First person, singular, because we're talking about a single person. When I say singular, it means I'm not talking about dual. Dual means there's two people involved. So singular means there's only one. So you can have singular I, ami, singular you, si, singular he, she, or it, ti. Okay, so when I say singular, first person, what did I say? Which one is that? Singular first person. Ami, okay. Gachami, prachami, cha, okay. Gachami, who goes? I go. Prachami, who asks? I ask. So, I go and I ask. Prichati, what's ti? He. Let's do a she this time. So, she asks and she goes. Gachasi prichami cha. Who is going? Okay, you're going. Prichami, who is asking? I am asking. So you go and I ask. Okay, prichati, who is asking? He asks and I ask. Gachasi, gachati cha. Gachasi, gachati cha. Gachasi, you go. Gachati, and he or she or it goes. Prichami, gachasi cha. Who's asking? I am. Who's going? You are. Prichati, gachami cha. Okay? She asks and I go. I go and I ask. Let's do this one together. I go, gachami, I ask, prichami cha. You ask and he goes. Do it in your head. You ask. Prichasi. And he goes. Gachati. So, prichasi, gachati cha. He asks and you go. Gachati, gachasi cha. He goes and asks. In other words, he goes and he asks. Okay, let's just don't he. Where's the he there? He goes and asks, Gachati Prichati cha. I hope I said he goes and he asks, right? Okay. You ask. So who's asking? You are. Si. So, prichasi. I ask and you go. Prichami gachasi cha. I go and you go. Gachami gachasi cha. He goes and you go. Gachati gachasi cha. Okay. All right, next, let's move on to page 9. All right. Again, I'm going to do it together with you and follow along just to make sure we got the sounds right. Ka. Repeat. Ka. Ka. Ga. Ga. Na. Na. Okay, now together. Ka. Ka. Ga. Ga. Na. Cha. Cha. Ja. Ja. Na. Da. Ta. Da. Da. Na. Da. Ta. Da. Da. Na. Ba. Pa. Ba. Ba. Ma. This should be absolutely flawless in your memory. So let's call out some consonants and you need to identify which one. Okay, we'll leave this on, but quickly as possible. And I'm not going to give you a break, so don't pause the video. Da. It was this one. Okay. Cha. Ja. Ba. Ma. Da. 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 Ba. Pa. Ta. Ta. Ga. Ga. Da. 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 Cha. Cha. Da. Pa. Ka. Ga. Ga. Now let's do the exercises together. Kutra. Where? Wasavaha. Wasa. Was is what? The root of wasa. That means live. Okay, who lives? We too live. Remember when there's a V there, it just means there's two, because 1, 2. So that's how you know the V belongs to the dual, because there's two. So where are we two going? Bhavasi bhavavahacha. Bhavasi, si, you. You are, and bhavavahacha. And we too are. Okay, good. Wasami. Wasa means live. So who's living? I live. Smarataha. And who remembers? Smarataha. Those two remember. Prichataha. Smaraticha. Okay, who's asking? Taha. You two ask and smarati cha, and he, she, or it remembers. Kutra gachavaha. Okay, where gachavaha, where we two go. Kutra bhavami, where am I? Kutra gachami, where am I going? Now let's just look at these Sandhi combinations. See, all that Professor Thomas is doing here, he's the author of the book, is he's preparing us for the combinations. So for example here, this is a good example, very common, where you have the, what's this called? The H? Visarga, important. So when you have the Visarga, that means aha, join the cha, you have this change into a sh. So the way with Sandhi is, the general rule is like this. Word 1 combines with word 2. The end of word 1, last letter of word 1 changes. The first letter of word 2 does not change. So word 1 is bhawavaha, word 2 is cha. The last letter of word 1 changes and the first letter of word 2 does not change. So all that changes is the visarga based on what? Based on a table which we will have, which you just have to memorize. So this means when you say bhawavaha cha, then you go, okay, so aha plus si, as in cha, equals sh. So bhawavash cha. Bhawavaha cha, bhawavash cha. And then the second step is you then combine the little spaces there just for making it easier to see. But in real life, you're going to remove the space. So, which is fine, because in the book, we're just going to create a little space there to have like clarity or what's going on in the word. This is another common example where you, well, same thing here. Smarataha cha, how would you combine this? Smarata, smarataha cha, smaratash cha. Say the word, smarataha cha. Say it again, smarataha cha. Now say smaratash cha. Smaratash cha. See how natural it is? So the only purpose of Sandhi is to create a flow in our linguistics of Sanskrit. That's it. Okay, and all right, let's move on. Prichami cha smarati cha. Prichami, ami, there's an I there. Whenever you see an ami, it means, okay, I. And then you just have to remember this word. Prichami, that means I ask. And who what? Smara, oh, smarati. Okay, remember. So who remembers? He, she, or it remembers. So I ask and he remembers. Wasasi. Okay, who? Okay, there's a you there. The C is you. And what's this wasa? You live and gachavaha, and we too go. Kutra, where gachasi? Where are you going? All right, good. Let's move on. Where are you two going? Okay, where? Kutra, you two, is it taha or is it taha? Okay, so kutra gacha taha. So where are you two going? Kutra gacha taha. That's an aspiration. I live and those two live. Who lives? Ami lives. Now what is live? Wasa. So wasami and those two live. There's no you here, but those two. Which one is those two? Is it taha or is it taha? Taha, though, so there's no aspiration. So I live, wasami, and those two live. And wasataha cha. So wasami, wasataha cha. We two ask. Who asks? Okay, what's ask? Pricha. We two. We two. So prichavaha, and those two remember. Those two remember. Those two is always taha. You two is taha, aspirated. So you can do like a memory remembers technique, and you can say, like, when I'm pointing at you, I'm like, taha. But those two is a little bit softer. Taha. Okay. So we two asks, so prchawaha, and those two remember. Smara tahacha. No, we two ask, prchawaha, did I say prchawaha? Prchawaha, and those two remember. And smara tahacha. You go, gachasi, and he goes. Gachati, cha. Where am I going? Where? Kutra, I, ami, gachami. So kutra gachami. Where am I going? I am and you two are. Okay. What is to be? Is bhava. Bhu bhavati. Remember, you should remember this: the root and the stem. So what do I mean by that? When I say remember the root and the stem, it means if I say bhava, or if I say is in English, you go, aha, bhavati. But what's the root? Bhu. So you always remember the root and the stem. And when we say the stem specifically, we always remember the ti, that means he. So you don't have to remember bhawami or wasami. You just remember bhavati, wasati, prachati, smarati. So it's not really the stem, it's more like remember the third person single for every word. And then automatically your memory will remember, okay, so gachati means it's a first row, so it's a gachati, gachasi, gachami. I am bhawami, and you two are. You two, remember the ta. Bhavataha cha. Okay? Where are you? What is are you? What is you or are you? Bhavataha. So kutra bhavataha. Oh, it's singular. Okay. So where are you? So kutra bhavasi. Where is he going? He goes gachati. So where is he going? So kutra gachati. Now let's go through the sibilants. When I say sibilants, it means sha, sha, sa, and ha. So what does sibilant mean? You say instantly. Just think of when I say sibilant, it begins with an S, and there's S, S, S here. So sibilants, sha, 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 sa, and ha. Repeat. Sha, sha, sa, and ha. How do you pronounce this? Aha. What's this called? Visarga. Okay. This one, how do you pronounce? Ihi. That means it echoes the preceding vowel. Uhu. Aha, ihi, uhu. Okay, that's simple. Okay, and this is our alphabet of Sanskrit. There's no more letters after this. This is all the letters there are. A, I, U, L, E, I, O, Au. And then you got the Visarga, and then you got the Anuswara, which we will soon start to see more and more. And then we've got the consonants. So the idea is we're going to learn the Devanagari for every one of these letters here. So this means I can create any word in Sanskrit out of the combination of these letters. So this means when you read a book, then it's going to consist of nothing but combination of the letters on this page. That's why we need to learn the Devanagari, which we will do at the end of the video. All right, let's move on. Now we're going to introduce the plurals. So we have learned gachami, that means singular, gachawaha, dual, and this is going to help us to speak or to reference many. So how do we say we all? Can you say that with singular? No. Can you say that with dual? You can only count 2 people. So the only way to do that is with plurals. So we two gachavaha. We all, wow, what does it say here? Gachamaha. So how do you remember gachamaha? If gachavaha has 2, then gacham, that's an M there, it has 3. So this means it's obviously larger than 2. So it has to be plural. So gachamaha. That's how you never confuse gachavaha. Why? Because 2 gachamaha, more than M, 3 strokes, so that's 3. So we all go. Gachamaha. Repeat. Gachamaha. 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 Repeat. Amaha. Amaha. 10 times. Amaha. 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 Okay. Second person. So you all. So if you're a president or a speaker and you want to reference to, hey, you, all of you that are seeing, and then you follow that with an instruction, you would say gachata. So hey, you all go, gachata. That means, so this means is I'm directly addressing you all. So I say gachata, you all go. Okay? So ta, repeat, ta, 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 ta. Prachata, prachata. Prachati, ask. Prachata, you all ask. Prachamaha, prachamaha. We all what? Ask. Okay. And then third person, that means I am referencing to somebody else who are not immediately present. That's what third person means. That means they're not right here, right now. You say gachanti. So anti, repeat, anti, 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 anti. Okay, so gachanti. So what is gachanti? If gachati means he goes, then gachanti has to mean they all go. Okay. Bhavati, he is. Bhavataha, those two are. Bhavanti, they all are. How about wasata? Wasata. Break it down. Wasa, live. Ta, you all. So you all live. So the formula is amaha, ta, anti. Repeat. Amaha, ta, anti. Amaha, ta, anti. Amaha, ta, anti. Anti, ta, amaha. Okay. So let's go through the whole table. Ami, si, ti. Awaha, taha, taha. Amaha, ta, anti. Okay, having learned the plurals, now we will learn the new vocabulary, which will help us to increase our ways of communicating, of course. So this is what it's about, really just expanding your vocabulary so it doesn't end. This is something to be excited about, because if you think about your brain, it naturally loses capacity to remember and to think, and over time it becomes blunt. So the advantage of Sanskrit is there's so many new words to remember and to hold it all together that it forces your mind to stay sharp, to stay attuned. So there's a lot of advantages in Sanskrit. And one of them involves learning new words. Like vadati. Okay, vadati means vasati, he lives. Vadati, he says. And then sta, this is the root, of course. So vadati. Sta tishtati. That means stand. So imagine some person standing. What's this called? Tishtami. Okay, who's standing? Tishtami. I am standing. Tishtasi. You are standing. Tishtati. He is standing. She is standing. It is standing. Tishtanti. They all stand. Tishtata. You all stand. Tishtamaha. We all stand. Tishtavaha. We too stand. Tishtataha. You too stand. And then we also have na. So na is a negative, so it's going to say like nasty is not. So it's going to negate, and it says here place before the verb. So na gachami, I don't go. Na prichasi, you don't ask. Na vadati. Vadati, he speaks. Na vadati, he does not speak. Na vadanti. Okay, vadanti, they speak. Na vadanti, they do not speak. Na bhavami, I am not. So let's use an example from here. I go and she does not go. So I go gachami. She goes gachati. Now what did it say about not? It goes right before the verb. So na gachati. So she does not go. So now let's put this together. Remove the na aside. How do you say I go and she goes? Gachami, gachati cha. Now, you got that? Now next step, it says na goes before the verb which is negated. So, gachami, we leave that alone. She does not go, so na has to go before that verb. So, na gachati. And then everything else is the same. So this way it's gachami na gachasi, or gachami na gachati cha. That's the only difference. So again, he goes and I go. He goes and I go. Gachati, gachami, cha. He goes and I do not go. Gachati na gachami cha. He speaks is vadati, and they all don't speak. He speaks, vadati. They all speak, vadanti. Now, he speaks and they all don't speak. Vadati, na vadanti, cha. Okay, remember, anti is the plural, third person. How about I am not and you are? I am not and you are. Okay, where does na go? Before the verb. So if I say I am, bhavami. I am not, na bhavami. So I am not and you are. Na bhavami, bhavasi cha. Okay, vadati na cha vadami. So vadati, vada means he says. So vadati, he says. Now na goes before the verb, remember? Ignore vadati for now. What does na vadami mean? I do not say. Na vadami. So vadami I say. Na vadami I do not say. So and I do not say. So he says and I do not say. So let's break this down again. Remove the na. Pretend the na is not there. Wadati cha wadami. He says and I say. That's clear because we've already gone through where the cha goes. You can also say wadati wadami cha. Okay, also possible. Very flexible. It would not be wrong. Wadati na cha wadami. He says and I not say. So he says and I don't say. Wadataha smarataha cha. Okay, first of all, wada means to say. What is taha? You two. So you two say wadataha smarataha. Smarataha. Remember. And who remembers? Those two remember. And those two remember. So vadataha, you two say and those two remember. Gachanti, they all. Anti, remember. Amaha, ta, anti. Anti, all. They all. So they all don't go. Tishtamaha. Tishtati means he stands. Now tishtamaha, remember there's a 3 there. Amaha, many. So we all stand. Gachamaha, and we all go. Okay, how about na cha prachati, na cha vadati? Okay. And he does not ask and he does not say. How about kutra bhavasi? Okay, kutra bhavasi, where are you? Where are they going? Okay, where, kutra, they go. What is they go? It says where are they going? In other words, where are they all going? So it says kutra gachanti. Where are we standing? We. Okay, we. Amaha. Tishtamaha. Kutra tishtamaha. Where are we standing? Where are we? Where are? So bhavami, I am. Bhawavaha, we too are. Bhavamaha, we all are. So kutra bhavamaha. Kutra bhavamaha. That means where are we? So this is a table for us to recognize these words. And we should know this by heart. This is our vocabulary so far. So what you need to do is cover one side and then recall the other side, and then cover one side and then recall the roots, recall the third person singular, and recall the English. So it's, as I said, it's about building the vocabulary. In the Indeclinable, this means, indeclinable just means a word that you cannot change. That means it's always going to be kutra, no matter where. No matter what text you open up in the literature, it's always going to be kutra, cha, na. However, indeclinable means it is subject to santi. Because remember when we did the verse, cha api, cha api. This means it still is able to change according to santi. All right. Let's move on. Okay, our homework is to complete this, number 5 and number 6 of lesson 3. This is on page 29. And it shouldn't be too difficult because we only introduced new words. And we introduced the negative, the na. This means that all you have to remember about the na is put it before the verb which is being negated. So I go and they don't go. Gachami, na gachanti cha. And this concludes our revision and homework. We now know what to do, how to spend our time, and to continue delving deeper into Sanskrit. My vision and my hope is that you do stay with this, because it is a long term and there's no rush here. I'm always here to teach, and this is my love for life. So you have the resources. Everything at the beginning requires some effort, but also look at it with a different attitude. Look at it in the form of, I'm opening up new possibilities. I'm expanding my mind, expanding my vision. I am refining my acuity. So for those of us who have experience with Devanagari, thank you for listening. Please do the homework. I will also have this up on the website. Meanwhile, let's now, for us, the rest of us, do the Devanagari new letters. All right, let's begin our retroflex row, starting with T. So first write down the Iast version. The Iast, which means Roman letters with diacritics. Diacritics means little marks underneath the Roman letters. This is a diacritic. Start from the top and then make a hook. Roof last. Again. I'll go slow motion. Line there, and then you go like that. Again. Da. Okay. Pa. This is still retroflex. This is voiced. Not voiced, aspirated. Ta. Definitely not voiced. It's the same thing, except you close it. Okay, so just got a little close there. Like that. Now you stop there for ta, but ta, you just keep going and you close it, and then a roof last. Again. Ta. Line down, just 1/3 of the 1/4 of the way. And then you want to make a little ellipse. Like that. Okay, next one is da. Okay, we have like an S. And then a roof last. Again, da. Roof last. Remember, when you write the retroflex da, you got to put the little diacritic at the bottom. 1/4 of the way, line down, and then just like a Superman S. And then left to right, the roof. Okay, and then we have da. This is da voiced, aspirated. This will be like a G that is curled within itself. It's like a shy G. Okay, again. Okay, G, and then it closes. Roof left to right. Okay, next is retroflexed N. Like lightning. Okay. And then one shorter line. And then the line which is the same length as, so they're the same length, basically. Kind of looks like a Transformers or something. And then the top roof left to right. Okay, again, this is a retroflexed N. Lightning. Shorter line in the middle, and then longer line, same length as the first one, and then roof last. And then the alternative version is like this. Like a hanging wasp or hanging bee's hive, from the roof. And then that's what they do. They always, you know, hang by the roof near a wall, a beehive. So there's a wall there, and that's it. And then the roof last. So again, na, retroflex, version 1, lightning, and then roof last, and version 2, beehive next to a wall. A beehive hanging on a ceiling next to a wall. Perfect memory image. I haven't thought of that before. Okay, next one is da. This is dental, danta. These are very common, by the way, the ta. Bottom to the stem, and then stem always goes from top to bottom. Again, da. Okay, next, ta. This will be okay, let's do some memory image. Nothing's coming to me. If you got something, email me. Okay. It's kind of like a bee, I guess. You know, like a sting of a bee. Oh, actually a 9. That's a good one. That's a 9. You see that 9? Nope. Okay, that's a 9. Ah, goody. So again, now we say number 9. I don't want to end. I want to go back. All right. So the top of the roof does not go over the 9, remember? Okay, again, ta, number 9. I don't want to end. I want to go back home to the top. There you go. Da, we will call this an undisciplined G. It just wants to release itself. For memory, right? You gotta remember something. So da, it goes out. And then we have da. This is an aspiration. And this is like an E. So I'll do that slower. Okay, I'll just stop there. That looks like an E so far. It's just, except it's got a little circle on the top. And then you just continue going up and then down. And then close. Okay, again. So the da, this is the aspirated voiced, looks like an E, and the E is actually touching the roof. So again, stop there so far. So it's touching the roof and looks like an E. Okay, it's similar to an E. All right, and then like for most letters, then we just keep going up. And then we come down. And then roof goes last. That's da. And then we have na. Very easy. Again, just imagine one line, another line. Except this one has a little bit of a bend. So what I want you to do is write out the letters 30 times each, and also for the initial ones that we've done, 20 or 30 times, because eventually we're going to see something like, say, right? And then you go, oh, okay, what's this? Once again, we will be in touch, and dhanyavadaha punar milamaha.